It's the season of spring for the Royal Challengers Bangalore, whereas the Chennai Super Kings are enduring what's looking like a torturous autumn. It's a team on decline. The despondent-looking Chennai Super Kings take on a side that's only going up, doing better with each game. CSK are still in with a slight bleak mathematical chance of making it to the playoffs. But more importantly, I think they're looking for a reason to smile, to end this tournament on a positive note. We have a reason to smile. Sanjay Manjrekar joins us on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by Dell. Sanjay was singing about a dard bhara afsana before we went live on the show. Sanjay, I'm going to start with a slightly loaded philosophical question. We've seen and admired CSK's highs. We've seen Dhoni's glory years as their captain, their miracles. This season, they are at the bottom of the table. They're looking like a pale shadow of their past. Is there a lesson in this story for us as people, for individual performers, for companies, organizations, cricket teams? Is there a lesson, you think?
I'm just going to actually answer that by asking you another question, whether we haven't seen this before. I mean, this is the reality of life, isn't it? We've seen this happen to everybody. It's happened to every company as well in the corporate world. There were companies that used to be number one in the world, making huge profits. They had products that we couldn't do without, and suddenly, with the world changing and stuff, they aren't around anymore. We've seen that happen to great players. Very few great players have escaped a reality check towards the end of their career. So CSK has been a great franchise, and this time around, their worst. I'm not going to make actually any final proclamation or judgment until we are absolutely sure they're not in the playoff, because this game is so funny, and the more you watch it, the more uncertain you become of predicting things. So, just to answer your question very briefly, this is something that happens to everyone, and it's just about all of us getting a reminder about how life is. And it's a bit of a reality check for all of us.
In league cricket, in T20 leagues across the world, you look at CSK, and in the past you think CSK stands for excellence. But have CSK made the mistake of living in the past? Because excellence doesn't live in the past, right?
Yeah, it's something that I wrote about, and it's something that a lot of our experts on this platform, ESPN Cricket Info, was saying at the start of the tournament. So this is not wisdom in hindsight. We all felt that they were taking a bit of a risk going with the same formula of aging players who are beyond their prime, because with aging players, every advancing year is more and more difficult. But Dhoni refused to budge from his philosophy and what he believed in, because he won a title with the same team, and the next time he made it to the final. So there was no reason for him to feel suddenly that he had to change his philosophy of winning IPLs. But there was a danger attached that I compared to a bowler who's been given 3 overs, bowls beautifully, but he's not your trump card. And you feel that, maybe I'll give him one more. And in that last over, he goes for 25, 30 runs. And then you sort of say, 1 over too far. You get that impression with CSK, with their philosophy, that maybe 1 year too far.
And the next IPL isn't too far away. It's not going to be a year. They're not going to get that much time. So the CSK will have to quickly think of what to do before the next IPL. But they've got a game to play, a game to win. They're looking for positives, as I said, and they've lost the toss. Let's first look at CSK's 11. RCB have won the toss. Virat Kohli is chosen to bat first, and this is the lineup Chennai have gone in with. Sanjay, 2 changes. Monu Kumar comes in, and so does Mitchell Santner. Out goes Shardul Thakur and Josh Hazelwood. Is it looking like a weaker bowling attack for you?
I thought so, but then I forgot that they've got a Swiss knife in their team. It's something that you told me about Sam Curran, who's like a Swiss knife. He does whatever you want him to do. So he's the third seamer in the side. Because at first glance, I thought, who's going to be the seam bowler? Because they dropped 2 seam bowlers, Shardul and Hazelwood, and replaced with one Monu Kumar, who's not an out-and-out seam bowler. So they've got 3 of them. It's a slightly weakened seam bowling attack, but this is CSK now just giving opportunities to their players who haven't had a game. And maybe having a look at people like Monu Kumar for the next season.
Right, when you look at the points table, a lot of people who perhaps don't follow the IPL regularly will look at the table and say, "Hang on, this can't be true." Chennai bottom of the table, 11 matches, 8 losses. Sanjay, have you ever been a part of a team that is on decline, like the CSK are? And can going out for a net session or a practice session or a workout session or just even to play a game, can it start feeling like a burden, a task? Can the team feel disjointed? What can the mahal be like in a team that's looking down and out?
Good question, and no better person to answer that question than myself, because my international career, Manish, was about being part of a team that was losing. We won at home, but when we went overseas as the Indian cricket team, we lost most of the game that we played. So it was a very negative kind of atmosphere in the dressing room. Nobody had self-belief. Then you start thinking more about your own performances rather than team, because you feel winning as a team is now impossible. You see that happening a bit with Faf du Plessis. Not that he's playing for himself, but it seems like he's also lost whatever motivation he had at the start of the IPL, because he was in brilliant form. So you go through the motions, and then you stop believing. And there are pep talks given. We were given pep talks for about an hour and a half when we were losing in Australia, losing the World Cup there, losing in South Africa, England. That, come on, guys, they're passionate people back home who back you to win. The millions of fans who want you to do well. But deep down, there is absolutely no self-belief. And I think that is the thing that really gets you to perform. You can maybe think of the positive and stuff, but what's deep down becomes your instinct. And once that sets in, and Dhoni has clearly told his team and everyone that they are now taking every game, and you can see that now they're looking at the future more than looking for a miracle, which is, I think, again, typically Dhoni, very pragmatic, and he continues to play every game, continues to lead. And that's the thing. When he was losing as India captain overseas as well, he never shirked any interview, or he went up there and just fronted up like he's doing today.
Right. I've always seen him smile this season as well. Even in the post-match presentation, he seems to look at this low or this blip, this phase, this turbulent phase in a very philosophical manner. And perhaps that gives us an insight into the kind of person he is. Ultimately, we're all made of the same emotions, and some deal with it well and some perhaps don't.
Yeah.
There's one player that he's rated very highly. He calls this player a complete cricketer, Sam Curran, that we on Cricinfo look at as a Swiss knife. You can also call him the Kishore Kumar of the Chennai side, because this guy can do everything, right? Kishore Kumar could sing most things. So while Chennai is going to chase, how would you use Sam Curran? We will talk about this in the mid-show as well, but would you want him to open the innings with the ball and the bat?
See, I'm looking at the attack of RCB. You've got Morris there, Siraj and Saini. And then you've got the spinners coming in. You'll have Chahal bowling and Washington Sundar. Washington is planning to bowl with the new ball, which may not be the case because Siraj is swinging the ball. So is Morris, who's bowling beautifully. So they may start off with seam and use the spinners a little later. I think RCB have won an important toss. The pitch will have a lot for their bowling second. Afternoon games, bowling second has clearly become an advantage. The pitch really slows down. So I expect Sam Curran to come maybe today a little later to take on their formidable spinners.
Right. So one change for RCB, Moeen Ali comes in and replaces Isuru Udana, comes in with that spin bowling option as well. What do you make of this move?
So it tells you, the experts think they know everything, but you had raised this doubt and question in our preview whether Isuru Udana could be left out and somebody would be brought in his place. And typically, like experts are condescendingly, we said, it's not possible. That's going to happen. But I guess the pitch has dictated that change. I don't think he's just looking to get Moeen Ali some game time. Both teams have actually committed themselves to spin a little bit. Mitchell Santner coming in for CSK also is another reason, because Jadeja, the left-arm spinner, is not quite delivering for CSK. So yes, Udana left out only because there is something there for the spinners, and also the fact that there are three seam bowlers. RCB suddenly, the bowling unit, when you look at it, all of them in such good form. Morris has come and just sort of given life to this bowling attack. There's always been Saini, who's bowled well, but Siraj, with that performance in the last game, 4 wickets, is another now confident seam bowler. So when you have three of those, you can afford to drop another seam bowler.
It was Morris's first game in the tournament when these two teams met for the first time. He picked up 3 wickets, and since then, RCB have looked like a very different side. He's added a lot of balance. While the bowling seems to have fallen in place, there is one concern in the Bangalore batting. Aaron Finch's form. How much is that worrying you? Because come the big game, who knows if Virat has a failure, Padikkal doesn't fire, you'll want Finch to get into the groove right away, and he hasn't so far.
Yes, as you said in the preview, when he came into the IPL, Aaron Finch was in good form. He was hitting the ball really well for Australia. And he had just that one inning that you see there, 47 and 37. And I thought that would just turn the tide for him. I'm worried about the way he gets out. He has had a very famous weakness in the ball coming back in. But there have been two occasions when he's been beaten to balls outside the off stump, ball coming back in as well. And he's missed the ball by about 6 to 8 inches, which is never a good sign. So it's not just about runs, it's also about how you get out. And the way he's got out on a few occasions, it just worries me for no reason. Bad form has afflicted Aaron Finch because he came in good sort of a frame of mind and he was hitting the ball really well before that when he was playing for Australia.
Can RCB fool themselves into believing that all is well, everything's fine, Virat scoring runs, AB is among the runs as well? Are they just one, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, I hate to sound negative,
Sure.
but are they one game away from exposing their lower middle order? There is Morris in that lineup, and there's Moeen Ali who hardly did anything against Australia playing at home.
I think come the big game, they might be tempted to have somebody like a Shivam Dubey in place of Gurkeerat. But if Gurkeerat sort of gets going and becomes a sort of a dependable player, then you're looking at very few weaknesses. Now, at the moment, with the current form of the bowlers, let's say there's no weakness there. They've got the seam bowlers covered, the seam bowlers base covered, the spinners as well. Batting, they've got Virat Kohli playing well. AB de Villiers is just a cricketer who comes out without a cape. He's Superman, basically. We all don't know that. And Gurkeerat, if he shows the promise from the last game, Padikkal is just sort of going off the boil, but showed some promise in the last match. If these guys get a little more consistent, then you're looking at Kings 11 as deserving sort of team in the playoffs and in the Final Four.
How have you read Virat Kohli's performance? Because, he has a certain reputation. He likes to boss every game he plays. The expectations are such that a strike rate of less than 160, 170 is generally not acceptable from us very demanding fans and people outside the cricket fraternity as well. His strike rate, is that a concern for you? Are you okay because he's been consistently scoring runs? Or would you want him to up that gear?
We saw him upping that gear in one of the games and we raved about it. I forget which particular match that was, but we saw him being the only guy making contribution and virtually right through the innings. He was scoring at a strike rate of 110, 120, and looking at the scoreboard. Now, this is one batsman, and it's something that I spoke yesterday as well, that there are a lot of batsmen who are trying to replicate what Virat Kohli does, which is, laying the base, taking it a little easy, setting your eyes on the long-term goal and eventually winning the game or setting the target that you have in mind. Very few people are able to do it. Virat Kohli is one of those because he has that top gear and we've seen that once in the season. So he's somebody, if he takes a little bit of time, he's not one to get out at 25-30 and leave you in the lurch. So what you see as a strike rate is Virat Kohli on occasions just staying there, ensuring when they're chasing that there are no hiccups and winning the games. So it's not a reflection of him struggling and thereby the strike rate. It's about Virat Kohli playing as per the conditions, which is the hallmark of Virat Kohli. And also as captain, I think he's done well. You see in the last game, he actually batted down the order at number 4 and had somebody like Gurkeerat batting at number 3. So those are good signs as well.
But that might have also been a function of the fact that they were chasing 84 it was, and so maybe they had the freedom to make those changes. Is there an outside chance, a possibility? Does cricketing logic allow you to think maybe Kohli to come in and open the innings?
Because he's picked Aaron Finch, hasn't dropped him. I don't think there is any at least warning that there'll be a change in the opening pair. Padikkal he believes in, and Padikkal needs every game possible. Started off superbly. As I said, went a little quiet in the last 3-4 matches, but showed some spark in the last game. So I don't think there'll be any change there. Maybe he'll continue to back Gurkeerat if he's liked him as a batsman, watching him in the nets and stuff. And Shivam Dubey is just, I think, just inches away from making the playing 11 when they need.
And AB just remains padded up, and they don't look at the wickets column, but they look at how many overs left and then send him in accordingly.
Yeah, see, he's a guy who is not a human being, basically. He has us all conned. He looks like a human. So all those emotions that we were talking about earlier, uh, it doesn't apply to AB de Villiers. So it's not about AB de Villiers out of form in 3 matches, and the next game he'll be a little tentative because we'll all think he'll have a little bit of self-doubt and, not quite confident. All those normal things that happen to human beings, they don't happen to AB de Villiers. So RCB are fortunate to have somebody like him that they can use him any which way they want. He's like a machine. You switch it off and it's humming beautifully every time.
Unless it is a World Cup game and they get knocked out, and then maybe you'll shed a tear or two. But we won't go there. We don't want to look back at those unpleasant memories. We'll stick to the IPL. It's RCB versus CSK. RCB won the toss and they're batting first. Let's now talk a bit about the Chennai bowling. Monu Kumar comes in, hasn't played first-class cricket. Would you bowl him in the safer overs, or would you say, young man, just go for it? Here's your opportunity. Bowl with Chahar at the top.
I've not seen him enough to know what his strengths are, specifically as a seam bowler. But I can't imagine him bowling ahead of somebody like Sam Curran and Deepak Chahar. Deepak Chahar will definitely bowl first because he remains the only hope, who can get maybe early couple of wickets and give CSK some kind of a chance against what is now looking a very formidable, strong RCB. I don't see that happening. He is your third seamer, and because Santner is playing, they'll get 4 overs from him. Imran Tahir there as well. So there are a lot of other bowlers who are guaranteed 4 over bowlers now for CSK. So Monu Kumar might just be somebody who can be a cover just in case they need one.
How do you look at the Imran Tahir v Virat Kohli matchup?
Well, I expect Virat Kohli to win. It's the safest thing to do. There have been occasions many times, especially in the IPL, that he's got out to leg spinners, and it's something that I've not been able to explain. The only explanation that I've given every time I've been asked this is that he just sort of maybe relaxes against spinners, because when the fast bowlers are on, his antenna is really up and his top game is always ready. Once the spinners come on, you get the impression that maybe that intensity drops just a little bit. I don't think there is a weakness against wrist spin. I think there is a weakness against wrist spin for KL Rahul. It's irrelevant. He's not playing today. But, if you saw him get out to Rashid Khan in the last game, he didn't pick that ball coming back in. And I've seen that with KL Rahul. So I know this is not a show where we are doing Kings 11 Punjab, but if teams are playing against KL Rahul, try and get a wrist spinner with deception against him. There might just be a chance against KL Rahul. But Virat Kohli, no known weakness. Maybe just takes his eye off a little bit against spinners.
Right. Are you expecting a few more experiments from Chennai? I mean, we've seen the 11, but in terms of how Dhoni will use these resources, are you expecting Dhoni to pull a rabbit out of the hat? Are you expecting him to try new things, or you think he'll just say, go out there, play your natural game, follow the process, or are you expecting him to do something new?
Yeah, follow the process is what Dhoni is all about. And because he's already made a lot of changes and he's already thinking out of the box, the new players, he's trying out few young players as well, Jagdish and Rituraj Gaikwad and all those guys. So I think he'll give them the comfort zone so that they settle in nicely and feel part of the whole outfit. And the seasoned guys have been left out. So I don't see too many experiments happening. So the process is going to be, I guess, going to be quite predictable and simple, just because he's made so many changes.
What name do you think AB de Villiers will be looking to attack in that Chennai bowling group? Youngster Mono or somebody else?
Doesn't matter. I think he just comes in, and the way he's sort of almost abused as a batsman, he's given all the toughest possible assignments. So if he comes in with just 2.5 overs left, he's not going to care, who's bowling, whether it's the best bowler in the team, or it doesn't matter to him. He looks at the scoreboard and plays accordingly. I mean, this guy is incredible. Not once do you get the feeling that he's, looking for a score for himself. It's all about the team. keeping wickets. You see that kind of commitment. So it doesn't matter. I think AB de Villiers' approach and shot selection, everything depends on what the team needs.
RCB batting first. They won the toss. It's a used wicket from last night. What score do you think RCB will feel safe with?
I think if they get 175, 80, 180, it's a very good score on this pitch. We saw yesterday afternoon the team chasing really struggle. So that is the reason, they won the toss. It's a very important toss. And considering the overall form of CSK, and now because they've got some inexperienced batsmen as well, 175, 80 will seem like plenty. But again, I always have this kind of a little disclaimer. This is T20 cricket, who knows? But I think they might get more, but they'll be very happy with 175.
They're playing one of the corner pitches, and so one boundary is a shorter boundary, 68 meters. How much do you think that will alter the captain's decisions on who to bowl from which end?
Yeah, it will completely alter. If it's a short boundary, then you won't see somebody like a Mitchell Santner bowling to Sam Curran with that boundary being on the leg side. So all those calls will be taken. And when you have a short boundary on one side, then the left-hand, right-hand combination almost becomes like the rules of a batting order. So maybe today you'll see that even more than you normally see.
Right, it will be quite a sight to see the likes of AB de Villiers and Virat Kohli bat against a slightly very low on confidence Chennai Super Kings. But guess what? We've got a few better sights for you. The sights and sounds of the wonderful country of the United Arab Emirates. Watch them, because we believe watching is the new everything. Unfortunately, we are thousands of miles away from that country. We haven't been able to enjoy the IPL there. But Sanjay, favorite thing to do in the United Arab Emirates?
For me,
apart from playing Pakistan, that is.
Yeah, and not at Sharjah. That is certainly not one of the favorite things to do. But food, and especially the Lebanese kind of food that you get there, is outstanding. The weather is good. You just sit out and enjoy a lot of their restaurants, and obviously it's famous for also their malls and hotels. If you stay in one of their luxurious hotels and get a nice suite, if you're nice to the general manager of the hotel, it can be like a real Maharaja kind of life that you can lead there.
All right, sweet is what Sanjay Manjrekar mentioned, and sweet 16 points is what RCB are looking at to go top of the table. We'll see if that happens. The first innings is about to begin. We'll join you guys again on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket 4 T20 Timeout powered by Dell at the end of this innings. Sanjay Manjrekar will be in company to join us then. Bye for now.